crowd roars with applause as the gladiators emerge from the tunnel. The Colosseum is packed with eager spectators waiting to see the bodies hit the floor. The primal urge to participate in combat as a spectator sport engulfs the entire venue. This was a common sight to see in ancient days and places like the Colosseum, but eventually the Roman stadium empties and falls in neglect and ruin. Why, you might ask? Maybe the ancient Italian ticket distributor had an epic implosion on par with the Ticketmaster Taylor Swift ordeal. Could it have been that the concession stands started charging $18 for paninis and Caesar salads? It's possible. Is it because humanity in general got fed up with watching people beat the crap out of each other? I doubt it. Recent polling data showed that over 2 million unique viewers watched a UFC fight last year. The Pacquiao-Mayweather fight from 2015 pulled in over 4.6 million pay-per-views. That's just buys, not viewers, okay? I was in the Philippines during that fight, and there was 3,850 Filipinos around every TV with the fight on, believe me. So the innate desire to watch people duke it out has never been stronger. What is it that draws us in? Why do we love watching fights so much? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure we'll get around to answering that question on the show today. But all I know is that combat sports are interesting and entertaining to watch. Our guest today has done his fair share of participating and spectating in such sports. Is he a sports psychologist? No. Is he a life coach? No, because that's not a real job. But he does know a thing or two about wrestling, MMA, and other sports. And outside the arena, Danny is also an excellent conversationalist, musician, and small business owner. He also happens to be a very good friend of mine, and I'm pleased to have him in the studio now. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How's that for an intro?
That was pretty good.
Nice. Yeah. So like I was saying, Danny, you've been a friend of mine for a long time. A long time. I think Obama was still president.
Not that long.
Well, I guess not relatively long, but...
Friends for like a year.
Well, ouch. I've known you for a long time. But no, we have a fun history together. We were roommates back in college. We hang out with a lot of the same people to the present day. Tell us a little bit more about your background, where you grew up, how you got into wrestling and watching MMA, and being a fan.
Yeah, so I grew up in Southern California. Huge Mexican population culture over there, and if you know anything about boxing, that's also huge in Mexican culture. I remember I was 7 or 8 years old. My older brother started boxing. I never watched him. My mom never wanted to watch him. It was only my dad that would go out and watch him train, watch him compete, and stuff like that.
Only your dad from your family, not like only your dad at the arena. Like
there were other people. It was probably only my dad at the arena too. I mean, I don't know if my brother was any good. I don't know. But it's a funny story. My brother was snowboarding. This is related, I promise.
Okay.
My brother was snowboarding, and he tripped over a dumb kid, broke both of his wrists, and so he couldn't box anymore for the duration of the healing, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
But my dad was still paying for the membership or whatever.
Sure.
Which is like, okay, Danny, you're gonna go instead.
No.
And so I started going to this boxing gym, and I hated it, didn't like it. I mean, it was for kids, and I made some friends there. You just hit the bag a bunch of times, but like the second that they started,
like sparring partner stuff.
Yeah, the second they wanted me to like get punched in the face, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. That was my first introduction to boxing.
Okay.
I don't recall if my brother ever went back to that gym. I know that gym eventually closed down. I don't even know where it is right now. But anyway, fast forward a couple years, I kind of wanted to get back into it. My brother had gone on the wrestling team. He'd been on the wrestling team for like a year or two. And so I was interested in, you know what? I enjoyed boxing, I guess, a little bit. I enjoyed wrestling a little bit. And so there was a gym that opened up right by the apartments where I grew up in. And so I started going to wrestling and MMA in this little gym in the corner somewhere. Eventually I was like, yeah, no, I don't like the sparring. Again, that was me again. I was like, I don't like getting punched. I don't like getting kicked in the stomach. I was 12. No, it was before that. I was like
Well,
9.
Okay, and you've only got the
there.
one brother. So I grew up in a family with 9 kids. So sparring, kicking in the stomach, it was an unavoidable part of my childhood. Especially because I was homeschooled, so the school bullies were my brothers, and then me when I was older.
It's like maybe your sister here and there.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about that, but yes. So I actually didn't know that about you, boxing at an earlier age. So, and you had mentioned kind of getting into wrestling, and that was more of like a middle school thing?
Yeah, that was closer to... So, I had stomach issues when I was younger, which kind of prevented my parents from wanting me to really get into like a contact sport. My mom wanted me to be a dancer, which I'm very glad that didn't happen. You know, I mean, it might be nice like know how to dance here and there, but
sure, but
come on, I don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy.
Well, you're not going to get mugged in an alleyway and dance your way out of it, right?
Just like do some like K-pop moves,
right.
or like a TikTok dance.
It like distracts them and you're gone.
Yeah. But you know, I'm glad I didn't go that route in my life. But yeah, so I had some stomach issues, so I had interest in kind of returning back to that world, I guess. But my doctor wasn't letting me do any, not even like basketball or things like that, because I mean basketball is pretty contact, you know, people get up on you and stuff. But it wasn't around, I think I was around 10 or 11 where I ended up having a surgery that kind of corrected all those issues, and so I was able to start taking that stuff a little bit more seriously. With no issues. So I mean, still to this day I haven't had any other stomach issues. So
sweet. So was that like you would like easily throw up or just have indigestion, or what was
so I won't get into the technical terms because it's boring, but
I thought it was like gonna have to get edited
let's
out.
Just say, you know what a sphincter is, right?
Is that like a German scientist that invented the V2 rocket?
You in your body you have a couple of sphincters, but I'm gonna only talk about one. It's not the one you're thinking of.
Hey, you don't know me. I can have no sphincters in my body.
So
okay, what is it again?
Your esophagus has a sphincter.
Okay.
That closes your stomach so that acid doesn't come back up when you eat. It's normal. Everyone's got it. My stomach was halfway up their sphincter.
Oh.
So, what that means was...
I don't know why that's funny, but I'm sorry I'm laughing because it doesn't sound like a fun thing.
This is serious.
Okay, yeah.
So
the sphincter. The stomach was in your sphincter.
So, your diaphragm, right?
Yeah.
Is right here. My stomach was like halfway up.
Okay.
It was pretty much like I felt like I was going to throw up all the time.
So getting punched and shoved on the ground wouldn't have been conducive to having a good childhood. Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And yeah, my brother was also quite the bully, so I got hit in the stomach a few times and like I felt like I was going to die.
Oh.
It was pretty bad, but
so,
you know.
Okay, this kind of reminds me of a book I read when I was a kid called The Candy Shop Wars. Did you ever hear about that book?
No.
Yeah. So the Candy Shop Wars, I don't remember much about the book, but in the Candy Shop Wars, there's this assassin who has some sort of handicap magically placed on him where everything he does to someone else, he feels it. And I'm like, that is the last profession I would go into if I could feel everything I did to someone else, is be an assassin. So for whatever reason, it kind of reminded me of you because I didn't know that you had that condition when you were younger, but you're like, I hate getting punched in the stomach, so I'm just going to spend the rest of my life wrestling people. And it's like, don't do it, dude. That's Candy Shop Wars.
No, and I got hit a few good times. Even recently, man, I'll tell you, like, getting hit, I don't know if it's like this for everybody. Maybe it's just because my stomach is sensitive, but getting hit in the head is way better than getting hit in the stomach. I'd rather get hit in the face 20 times before I get, like, hit in the stomach.
I actually kind of wonder what percentage of people have actually had the experience of getting hit in the head, like punched in the head by someone who's, like, going hard.
Have you?
I've never been punched in the head. Someone tried to punch me, and
they missed. Or
I'm very agile, so I dodged it.
Like,
I have been like
the Filipino,
exactly
the movements.
I have been like tackled by someone who was trying to hurt me,
Uh-huh.
and I've been like hit in the body And it was like fights breaking out at the end of a play in basketball or something, but we're actually like swinging at each other or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've never been punched in the head.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I mean, you're someone I know, so I'm trying to like gauge, like, I don't know the percentage, but at least I can like gauge the people that I know personally, and I can think of like 2 people. Maybe.
Well, how many people do you know?
Maybe like
7?
10? 10, around 10.
Wow. Okay.
No, I don't think very many. I would say it's less than 10%, maybe less than 5% of people that have been hit like full force, not just like a little like accidental elbow. Like everyone's getting hit accidentally, but like someone trying to hurt you, I don't think that's very common.
Your guess is 5 to 10%.
Maybe less.
Okay. I would probably say something like maybe less. I'd maybe go like 3%. And I don't know how you could even do a study on that. I guess just ask 100 people. Yeah. You ever been punched in the head? No. Would you like to try it? I don't know why I thought of that, but if you were thinking about an average, because of people that do boxing and stuff, it's like guns in America. There's one for everybody, but like 2% of the people have them all, or all the punches to the head. One punch per person. But we got off on a little bit of a tangent there. So you started getting back into wrestling when your stomach felt better.
Yeah, I think it was that year. So I recovered. The recovery's bad. Obviously, it's a stomach surgery, so like you can't eat anything solid for I don't know how long. It was tough. I lost a lot of weight, which is not good for like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. No. I lost a ton of weight. And then I think even that year is when I started. I signed up for the gym. I was telling you about, just around the corner from the apartment. And yeah, I didn't like the sparring again. Started wrestling, and then that's when I kind of started taking it a little bit more seriously, going to actual competitions and tournaments and things like that, and kind of making that my personality, I guess.
Sure. Where would combat sports come up in your list of describing yourself now?
Well, I will say I don't describe myself very often anymore. I'm
because you're not in high school.
Exactly. I'm past the point of making new friends. All the friends I have are just the ones that are
into the losing old ones stage.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. But no, I don't call myself a wrestler. Even in the gym, in the jiu-jitsu gym that I go to, I don't call myself a wrestler because like there's like a connotation like, oh, they're just gonna try to like smash me on top or whatever.
Oh, sure.
I try not to be that. I also didn't wrestle in college, which kind of gives me like what's it called? Like an imposter syndrome, where it's like there are these other guys that wrestled in college and I didn't.
So if you were gonna call yourself that, it'd be like, I'm not like, as real of a wrestler as they are.
But then at the same time, when we're on the feet grappling, these college wrestlers, like, I hate to say it, but they're not on my level.
Yeah, you can turn their sphincter inside out.
Yeah, I reversed their sphincter to the other one.
How does it feel? Tell me how it feels.
But like, see, that's why I'm uncomfortable a little bit. It's like, well, I just have to kind of let in that world, I guess, let my actions do the talking, I guess, rather than labeling myself as some wrestler.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And now it's time for a mid-episode rant.
Well, it's another week, and you know what that means. Time to start telling yourself you'll start doing things because it's a fresh slate or a new beginning. Oh, I messed up on my diet. Well, I'll pick that back up on Monday. Oh, shoot, I totally missed a day at the gym. I can pick that back up on Monday. Oh, man, I told myself I'd stop shoving kids off their bikes. I'll pick that back up on Monday, too. Well, I've got news for you. There's nothing magical about Monday, and Monday isn't going to save us. Even if Monday wanted to, we wouldn't deserve a mythical day where our stamina and free will come to life on their own and carry our Cheeto-dusted bodies to some loftier level of achievement. And by the way, isn't Monday the most hated day of the week anyway? So why would we expect to make changes on the bubblegum-flavored milkshake day of the week? If we're waiting for the next Monday to change, then guess what? Monday will never come. Tuesday and the rest of the gang are going to eat your ambitions for breakfast, and you're going to slide back into the same mediocrity as before. And Wednesday is just going to dance on by without noticing. Without going all Loki on you.
Loki! You told me to shut up.
Time is just made up anyway. In fact, our delusion about the reality of time is apparent in the mortality rate of New Year's resolutions. By the time it's March, resolutions are dropping like flies. Why, you might ask? Because knowing you need to change something important, but putting it off for some arbitrary date on an arbitrary calendar is just silly. According to Forbes, for 2023, their survey found that the most popular New Year's goals included improved mental health, improved fitness. They wanted to lose weight, start a new diet, and have better finances. Okay, so mental health, fitness, and finances. Can you think of a time of year rife with stress, seasonal depression, copious amounts of sweets and desserts, and cratering credit scores?
Christmas is Christmas, it's Christmas, it's Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. So why would you put yourself in such a crappy position by arbitrarily waiting to start your new goals until after the holidays? You're setting yourself up for failure. You wouldn't try to make better time climbing Everest by starting in Death Valley. You wouldn't try to meditate inside of a Chuck E. Cheese. And you shouldn't try to make the biggest changes in your life in the wake of a Yuletide corn syrupalooza.
What does that even mean?
So I have an alternative solution. How empowering would it be to stop a bad habit or set a new goal and stick to it, starting on a Thursday afternoon in March instead of some Monday or New Year? I'll answer my own question. It would be really freaking empowering, okay? So film your podcast, go for a jog, stop shoving kids off their bikes, and do it now. Do the thing. Okay, and that's all I have to say about that. So, I mean, what are some of your thoughts about goal setting and where that plays in for you?
Well, I actually do have a lot of opinions on this, and I don't want to sound like one of those like gurus because I'm not. I'm figuring things out myself, but just from the few years of experience that I do have in trying to actually reach goals, rather than being a kid and just kind of like wandering through life, there are a lot of like. I think there are like two different types of failures. There's like a failure as like a success and a failure, and there's like a failure as a person, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of failures as a person that never get over their failures. They become their failure, and then they tell you that you are a failure as well and that you're going to fail. This is where I'm trying to get at. I recently, last year, I decided to become independent and start my own business.
Right.
And to not work for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I kept hearing from like business people that like, hey, be careful, because like a lot of like I don't know what the statistic is, but it's like, oh, like 90% of businesses fail or something.
Right.
They're not
the first
profitable
year or whatever.
something like that. And I was thinking like throughout my journey that's led me to be a business owner, which being a business owner is just the start. It's not the end goal, but
right. It's not like you've arrived, but it's
Yeah.
a good platform for
to begin.
Achieving goals, expanding yourself. Yeah.
Right. Like I've met a lot of people that did start their own business, but like that statistic is like so skewed by like incompetent people.
Right.
Like there you can say 90% of businesses, well, that you're just looking at the business, you're not looking at the person behind the business.
Right.
And it's like there are incompetent people that are starting businesses, and like if you have had many successes and even minor successes, let's say like you're a football player and you made the all-star team. That's a success that you achieved when you were a kid. So you can look back and be like, you know what, I have achieved a lot of successes in my life. So I probably could, in this new endeavor, also be successful because I've tasted success and I kind of know what it a little bit's like.
It translates.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does.
There are other people that have not tasted those same successes, and they will try to like start a business, for example.
Right.
They don't know what success is, and they will go into debt, and they'll run their business into the ground, and they'll tell you that that's what's going to happen to you because that's what happened to them. But like that statistic, I just don't take that seriously at all.
Well, and this probably is totally not true, but it feels right. 10% of the fighters take 90% of the shots to the head, or whatever.
whatever the statistic is.
So you really can't go off of totals just or even averages. It's an individual thing. Because I remember I used to work in city government, and we would take business license applications, and I had a coworker who was well-meaning, but he was kind of like, stamping and approving, like, well, that one's going to fail and this one's going to fail. Like, I wish him luck, but, I mean, we have too many car washes in this 30,000-person town for another one to be successful. But I think even in a saturated market for whatever you're going into, it comes down to daily habits and personal drive. And working in sales before, it's like you can find and get clients that had no plans of signing up with you if you have enough drive. So you can kind of defy a market analysis or even advice from somebody who's like, well, I started a business and failed.
And even in like the sales realm, that house was probably knocked before. Like,
absolutely.
Somebody else knocked that door and didn't get the sale, and so they're gonna tell you, oh, that person's not interested. That person's not gonna buy from you.
Exactly.
It's like, well, that's not the case. It's just
and you have not bought everything you've ever purchased until you do. Anybody can kind of create opportunity by inviting people, and that's part of what sales is. Mm-hmm. But in life, it's the same thing. Kind of what you were talking about with people who've never tasted success before. Sometimes it's just an invitation to someone to change a habit or to join in on something, and they can get that first taste of it, and then it can translate and spill over into other areas of their life, if that makes sense.
Right. But I think it's very hard today for people to, like, I guess, believe in themselves, as corny as that sounds.
It does sound corny, but I understand.
Because there's this like mentality. There's this mentality that people for some reason have to tear each other down. So that you don't get anything better than me, so you don't get more money than me, or you don't get more success than me, or you don't get the nicer car than me. And like, unfortunately, that's in my situation. A lot of the people my age and years past, like, they do have that mentality, and that's not like a healthy place to cultivate like ambitious mindset.
Right.
It's very toxic for your mind.
And it's also kind of a cliche to be like, oh, if this relationship isn't working out, that just cut it out of your life and distance yourself. But there is some truth to, you are who you surround yourself with. Mm. You are what you eat. Like, what you eat will affect how you feel. And what if you looked at a pie chart of how you spend your time in a day, that will affect the kind of person you become. Mm-hmm. And the closest people to you will influence whether you even try to set a good goal next time or start your new business. And so, unfortunately, there's friends and even family members where it's like, I can't entirely distance myself from them.
Right.
But I need to put them one more ring out so that they don't become dead weight. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but
yeah,
it comes down to that.
I don't like the idea of like, cutting people out because like, they're not valuable. Right.
It doesn't serve me, so it's all about me and you're gone. It's not really that.
That's super selfish of someone. It's like, if, like, let's say I'm going to get into the soda business, right? You're not a soda guy, so you're not going to be my friend anymore. It's like, well, that's stupid. Like, no. You can grow in your own realm. It can be completely different from what your friend is doing, but you can still support each other in that way. But like, I don't agree. It's a very difficult, at least for me, it's a very difficult decision to like decide to kind of distance yourself, or like you said, like put them out another ring from a friend. It's a very, very difficult decision because there are ways to like include that person in your life. Yeah. But if it's like, if they don't meet like the bare minimum requirement, for example, like let's say I had a kid and my son was like super weirded out, super uncomfortable around this person, and this person's actually super rude to my kid. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna budge on that, right. It's like those are like the easy decisions, but then there are other ones like, okay, well, this person is like consistently like lazy and is consistently like wanting me to also be lazy, and this has been going on for years. It's like, okay, this is this is an issue that I don't know if I can carry you for very much longer, because I think friendships are really important,
right?
But at the same time, like, you have to not only, it's not about what the other person, like how valuable that person is, it's about how valuable you are to them. It's like, I want to be valuable to you, Anthony. I want to be valuable in other ways. Like, I want you to be able to count on me, but it's not vice versa. It's like, I don't want you to expect, like,
I think I understand what you're trying to say, because you have to have a certain level of emotional self-reliance in order to help someone else. It's kind of the idea of when you're on an airplane, when they say make sure to secure your own face mask in the case of an emergency before you help someone else. And so it's not really a selfish thing to say, I actually am thinking about me, And I won't be able to have a good influence on someone else or be able to help them or help them wake up to success in their own life if I don't feel that way myself. And so it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to reach out and help someone, you have to be able to, and it's a really loaded term, but self-care, I think.
Yeah.
Real kind.
The real self-care, not like, I'm going to take a shower for the first time in 2 weeks. Like, yeah, that's necessary.
Right.
But self-care is like, why were you not taking a shower for the past 2 weeks?
Exactly.
It's like, find out that root issue and kill it.
A plague of the 21st century is things that make us feel good feel like self-care. Like, you know what? I'm going to kick off my shoes, binge watch a whole season of something on Netflix, and what's the worst flavor of ice cream I can think of? Neapolitan. Neapolitan ice cream.
You don't like Neapolitan?
No. Too diverse. I'm just kidding. No, we're going to cut that out. Or not.
Don't cut that out.
Actually, I'm going to include me saying, let's cut that out.
Cancel him.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, not everything it's not just what feels good is self-care. What actually is included is something that feels good and is good for you. That's what real self-care is.
Well, and even I feel like even in certain situations, things that are painful can be self-care. Like going back to what we were saying, like cutting out like a toxic aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It's like that's gonna be painful. Let's say you suffer from like alcoholism. It's like cutting out alcohol in your life is gonna be physically painful for you. But overall, that's like the definition of self-care. It's like,
good for you.
I'm gonna do this for my long-term health. You know.
It's a sacrifice, and another cliche. I'm just feeling very fortune cookie like today.
Very cliche today.
Yeah, is a real sacrifice is giving up something good for something better. And so self-care should be sacrificial in that you're giving up things that you'd rather just do right now for something that's going to help you, and thus you can go help someone else. So like a real sacrifice. Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to get too meta or deep. I did want to talk a little bit about an experience that I had when we were roommates.
Okay.
When we went to a public swimming pool and I tried my first backflip ever.
That was your first ever? I didn't know that.
I thought you could tell.
That explains a lot.
So we went to this pool during the summer, and because it wasn't the winter, and we went and we're swimming. And I was just hanging out with Danny and some of my cousins, and I figured, you know what, I ought to try doing a couple flips off the diving board. I've never done
This is his side of the story.
We're going to get Danny's side of the story in a second. So,
not my side, just what happened.
The truth. There's my side, and then there's the truth. So I get out, and I do a couple front flips off the diving board, which I think I had only tried flipping on a diving board being the size that I am a couple times in my life. So I've been advised by my dad, who actually also got in a bad skiing accident, never do winter sports, downhill, anything, and don't do flips off of things because us Jarvis folk are too big to make it. Yeah. Like we'd be the parkour fail compilation on YouTube would be like me like getting stuck and then falling off. So I went against my dad's advice, which was great, and was doing flips off this diving board.
That's always a great thing to do, right?
Yeah, sure. And I was feeling pretty good about myself. Now, in my feverish mind, people were starting to watch me do this. Oh, this big guy's kind of impressive. I was doing flips, right? Well, so I get up there and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my first backflip ever. I don't know the dynamics of it. I was thinking about backing down the diving board and going that way. I'm like, is that how people do? Is that how the cool kids do it?
Seen anyone do it before?
So I go down to the end. I'm like, I'll just do a couple jumps, right, and then just go out and backflip. Now, again, the way I'm remembering it, people were starting to chant my name, Anthony, Anthony, and I'm like, I'm getting ready to go, and they're all watching me. There's a couple hundred.
Okay.
Yeah, like all the Miss USA contestants were there. It just felt like there were a bunch of hot girls watching me and people that were impressed, and that's just how it came off.
That's impressive. I mean, nobody even watches the Olympic divers, so it's very self-flattering of you to think that people are watching you.
I just felt like I was kind of the man, so that's just how I was feeling, and I know that's probably true, but it could not be. And so I try to do my first backflip ever. So I go bang, bang, and then I slipped, and one of my feet went in front of me and one went behind. And if you can imagine, it's the diving board kind of came up like a potato peeler and just took all the skin off of one of my shins. And I like flopped off the side and fell in to the pool and started sinking to the bottom. And I remember thinking to myself, maybe I should just stay down here, you know, and die, because I don't want to go back up there.
We've all been there
with all those people watching me. So I come back up and I get out of the pool and people are kind of looking at me like, are you all right? And I'm just trying to like, you know, act cool about it. So I climb up the ladder, kind of limp off the ladder. And I'm just kind of standing there, and everyone's like, are you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to like go to the bathroom. It's whatever. And I start limping around the corner. And then, you know how like the chlorine in the pool can like turn a wound white?
I remember.
So it was just like white, and my body was like thinking, it was kind of like when in a Looney Tunes cartoon when you run off the cliff and then you realize you're in the air and then you fall. So my leg realized it had been sliced open. And it was a few seconds after I got out that it just started gushing blood all over my leg. And I disappeared around the corner and went straight to like the first aid place. And there were these two girls in there. And they're like, oh, do you need help? I'm like, maybe a little. And then like my leg's like bleeding out all over the ground. And I sit up on the table there and they're bandaging it up. I'm like, and it was pretty bad. It was like a gouge right on my shin.
Bad, yeah.
I still have a little.
Yeah, you still have a scar, right?
Yeah, I don't know how I would show it on the podcast, but
Throw your leg up.
It's very manly.
Flexible.
It's like Danny Trejo's face.
Hopefully he doesn't watch this.
He won't.
He'll chop you up with a machete.
Yeah, with a machete. No, so I have my leg up on the table and the girls are bandaging it up and I'm trying to act tough, and I was like, this is probably the worst injury you've ever seen at this job, right? And the one girl was like nonchalantly bandaging me up. She's like, no, like that's not even close. There's a skate park next door, and the guy had his hand on the rail, and someone rode by and like cut all his fingers off. That's the worst I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm a wimp. And she's like, yeah, you're a wimp. And and so I bandaged it up and I came out and I just kind of sat out in the sun, and everyone's like, what's the matter? I'm like, it's precautionary. And also was losing a lot of blood, so that's my side of the story.
I mean, that's what I remember. A lot of that's what I remember.
So where did I go wrong? What did I?
I know you. Okay, you're being sarcastic about the 100 people. I think even like maybe 15 people's like pushing it. If there were like 15 people, because there were like other kids and like parents watching their own kids. There were people there, but like I think I was in line, or I was either in line or I was like just getting out when you were going.
Okay.
And I just remember I remember thinking like, dang, he like sucks. Like he can't do a flip. Okay, whatever. And
all right.
But when you came out, yeah, you played it off pretty well.
Thank you.
And I don't know if it was this situation. Maybe we went there for a different reason. I don't know. But I remember the lifeguards or like the people in that little room were like mad. Am I making that up? I thought they were like upset that we walked in because we all walked in.
Yeah, maybe
I think they were like mad, like get out, and I'm like, no.
I think bleeding. I remember something about that.
I thought for a second I thought I made that up because you didn't mention it.
Well, what I mostly remember is them being a little annoyed that yes, I came in with like a group, like all those girls that were so worried about me came with me. No, I'm just kidding. It was like you and like two of my cousins. But I also remember them being a little annoyed with me thinking that I was like some big deal. Like, oh, this is so bad.
So
and they're
bad.
like, no, it's not, dude.
Yeah,
people have been amputees.
You made those
in here.
comments.
Yeah, so
you made those comments.
I did. So I kind of walked
You
into
asked
that.
for it.
Yeah. But anyway, that was that experience. We also had a lot of fun just hanging out, really. I mean, it was just a good thing to have just positive, good, clean people that weren't trying to get into too much trouble but wanted to have fun. And so I feel
too much trouble.
Not too much trouble.
Not too much trouble.
But I think it was just great hanging out with you.
It was fun. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
We had a couple other friends in the house as well.
Yeah. My cousin Gabe lived with us, and we had other people around us, and we made music. And
I had a good time doing that.
Actually, okay, I'm gonna find the video on this, and it's definitely gonna be part of the episode. But
okay,
do you remember when my cousin Jessica was it like her birthday, And to surprise her, you, me, and Gabe.
Yes, I do remember this. The video's somewhere. I think your aunt.
She's got it for me.
She's got it. Yeah.
I'll go find it. But so you, me, and Gabe thought it'd be kind of funny to like practice a song and then get in a box, like the three of us, like in a refrigerator box.
Celebrate good times. Song.
Yeah, from the 80s or whatever. And we all got in this box with me like hunched over you guys.
Mind you, it's a refrigerator box. It's one of those massive boxes.
So
the three of us are fitting in there.
I hardly fit in
standing.
there on my own. Okay. But the three of us are in there with an amp.
And we ran
And
electricity
a bass
to the box.
and a guitar. And we ran electricity to the box. And we were just in the box for, it felt like forever, with the other presents. So she comes out to her birthday, and then it's time to open presents was like the cue, and then we started playing music from inside the box, and then busted out of the box and started singing to her. It was incredible.
It was a good time, and at that point, I think I was living with you guys for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
So it was. I got to know you really, really well
Yeah.
in the box. Like,
Yeah, we're all
hey,
like,
Danny.
I didn't know you guys very well.
Yeah, well, you like Old Spice, huh? I could smell that. But no, we got to know each other just super well after that, and it just kind of goes to show how just kind of chummy we were, because we were like, hey, you want to do this stupid weird little music prank at my cousin's birthday? You're like, sure. And then Gabe was in on it, and it was fun.
Nobody knew I played any instruments or anything.
Yeah,
I think I just pretended like, just teach me how to do it, and then like
you
learn
just
it.
knew
and
it.
then just like learn it super quick.
That's funny. But so we had a bunch of experiences together like that, just like pranks, projects, hanging out, and
summer 2016 was a fun time.
Just fidget spinners and chain smokers.
Chain smokers and Sean Paul.
Sean Paul.
Remember Sean
Bada bam bam.
Yeah, that
Right?
one. That's the one. Sean Paul and the 21 Pilots on the Suicide Squad.
Yes, 21 Pilots and Suicide Squad and
Harambe. And Harambe.
oh, Donald Trump's president. This could go well, and like all of that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was 18. I could vote.
Yeah.
I voted for Harambe.
Really?
Yeah.
Legends never die.
Legends never die.
That's funny.
No, yeah. I know a lot of people would be mad about that. Like, oh, you wasted your vote. I'm like,
Oh, you actually voted for Harambe?
Yeah, I did.
Oh. Okay.
2016, any vote was kind of a wasted vote. So many people voted for Gary Johnson, also to waste their vote. Like, you know what?
Dude, Gary freaking Johnson, dude.
Legend.
Remember when, because like there was the crisis in Syria was happening at the time?
Yeah.
And he's on TV and they're like, well, if you're elected president, what would you do about Aleppo? Which was the city in Syria that was like under attack and people were evacuating. And he's like, what's Aleppo? And I was like, that's the second moment I realized he would never be president. The first was that he was a libertarian. But the second moment I realized he would never be the guy is when he was like, I don't know what's going on. It'd be like if someone's like, what would you do about Kyiv and the war against Russia if you were elected president? You're like, we're at war with Russia? What are you talking about? It'd be like, you'll never be president.
Hey,
if you don't know what's going on.
He knows as much about Aleppo as Harambe.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the same level.
I guess.
So my vote really wasn't that wasted.
Would you say if Gary Johnson or Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump were standing right here, would you say to their face, I went with the dead gorilla instead of you people?
Not Hillary Clinton, because then I would be the dead gorilla. But maybe
we will definitely cut that out of the show. That was a very specific stamp in time of like things that were popular and where the country was headed, and we were living together, like roommating it up at that time.
Yeah, that was like a weird transition period for America. Like 2015 was like kind of chill.
Right.
2016 was like,
whoa, what's going on?
The turn of everything.
And then 2017 was like, I don't talk to my neighbors anymore.
Yeah.
And
2016 was 2017.
That's what happened.
2016 also had Killer Clowns. We had Killer Clowns.
The Killer Clown.
That was the worst of our worries, kind of. Well, there were bad things. I don't want to say that was the worst.
We had the Killer Clowns. We had fidget spinners. Conor McGregor. We were talking about.
Yeah, that was fun to watch.
The Cavs and the Warriors seem to be the only team that could go back to the NBA Finals. Wasn't it like 4 years in a row that it was the Cavs and the Warriors?
Yeah, You're
I
the
remember
basketball
that.
guy.
I remember that. It was like right in that time frame where it was like Cavs Warriors, and it's like, oh great. It was like the Celtics and Lakers from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that was
anyway.
a fun year. I remember. I remember people were freaking out about Rogue One too that year. People were freaking out about like, oh my gosh, like Star Wars is doing
right.
like
They
these
made a spin-off.
offshoots. Yeah,
They made a spin-off Star Wars film. It's like you haven't seen anything yet.
it's like
Rise
wait,
of Skywalker is
just
coming.
Just wait.
It's
oh
gonna
my gosh.
knock your socks off.
That was so
but-
dumb. That was so dumb. You know what? I have. You should do a free fomenting on this. I don't think that, for example, Pokemon, anything after the first 250 Pokemon, sacrilegious.
Yeah.
Those are not real Pokemon. Any fans of Star Wars that are fans that think freaking Jakku is a real planet in the Star Wars universe?
Or what's the gambling planet?
I don't remember.
Canto Bite.
Yeah, if you acknowledge those planets, you're not a Star Wars fan. And I see that, like, I see on TikTok and stuff, people are like doing like lightsaber tricks, and like they're dressed up as like Rey. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You're at this point, you're not even a real Star Wars fan.
No,
I hate that.
That's not in my mind canon. It was all crap. And that's someone who cares a lot about Star Wars. And that's why it was hard for me to see them.
There you go with your Star Wars right past.
I don't
your
even
head,
know
I
if
can
it's in the
see it.
shop, but
Could
I've
be.
got Star Wars toys. And yes, I'm in my late 20s and I have Star Wars toys, and that's fine.
Hey, you can be in your
Yeah.
late 40s and have Star Wars toys. That's
There's a
fine.
lot of people that do. But anyway, those were fun times. And honestly, I as this show progresses, Danny, I'd love to have you back on to react to news and things as they happen. I think
Right.
we
Thank
get along great, and I don't know if
was
anyone.
fun.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I'm sure I'd love to have you back on to talk about other things. And yeah, everybody, this is Danny Bolaños, and he has joined me today for some fun. And we'll go ahead and leave it there. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next time.